Man, I think I am lost in this desert. Oh, well, hello there. Father Francis back here with you yet again on another Saturday. Boy, it's hot today, really hot today, let me tell you. I'm roasting out here in the desert. Believe it or not, I really am. And if you think you've made a mistake and turned into Huell Hauser looking at California deserts, well, not really. You made a mistake. A little mistaken identity here. It's not Huell Hauser, but Father Francis. Well, today in our readings we encounter, if you will, the desert. In some ways, the desert can be, for some people, the desert can be a very beautiful place. Sunsets at desert time are absolutely gorgeous. The colors of the sunset or a sunrise in a desert is absolutely breathtaking. It's sometimes beyond description. It's so beautiful. The desert's beautiful because in some ways it's so wild and untamable. It's those kinds of things. Dangerous things have a certain innate beauty all of their own. So although the desert can be a very beautiful place, it can also be a very dangerous place as well, as we all know. We have all these different little creatures that have very rare adaptability to the desert. Sidewinders, scorpions, tarantulas, I guess, and some plants that can live in the desert. We also think, when we think of the desert, we can think of all sorts of different deserts. Of course, California, the Mojave Desert, Death Valley Desert. But we also can think of far-off deserts, very famous deserts, like Giza, where the pyramids are, and where other ancient Egyptian worlds, the beautiful structures that we find in some of these movies that we sometimes watch, like some of these old black and white movies. But again, the desert can be a very inhospitable place. Let me tell you, it's pretty hot out here. And and I think that when you look at the readings, you see that first reading where the people are longing for water. And then we go to the gospel and we find Jesus, who has been teaching the people in the wilderness, i.e. the desert. And isn't it interesting that he chooses to go out into the desert, full well knowing that the people will follow him out there. And he leads them out into the desert. In some ways, when people are led out into the desert, it's usually a trap. It's usually kind of a place where, rotters and desperados, love to prey on people, because the bottom line is they're helpless. Who are you going to call? Help! Who's going to come and help you when you yell help? Nobody. And so it's just you and the bad guys. And so usually it's the bad guys, if you watch the old movies, the old Roy Rogers movies or the old John Wayne movies, they would, kind of try to get their victims out into the desert so they could ambush them, and all those kinds of things. But yet Jesus invites these people to come out into the desert with him. And I think he does that for a reason. He does that for a very good reason. He wants them to get away from all of the distractions that normally occupy their daily existence, whether it's selling and buying, or just trying to make ends meet, or dealing with problem people, problem things, problem circumstances. He basically wants to get their mind off of that and put their attention solely on him and what he has to say. And that's why he leads them out in the desert. But I think he also leads them out into the desert for another reason. You see, Jesus tells us many things about who he is. And one of the things that he tells us is, he says that he is the living water. Now, my friends, you can't really appreciate a good cold glass of water until you know what it really means to be thirsty. Am I right? And Jesus knows that these people need to know the spiritual refreshment that only he can give. And so he brings them out into the desert knowing full well that he's going to have to supply their physical needs for food and for water. And so what he does is he gets them to think about first the most important things, the spiritual aspect of all life, but then he begins to bring real refreshment, because Jesus is the living water which comes down from heaven. God bless you today, my friends, and stay cool.